Today for lunch, ramen noodles. 28-year-old oil driller Cody Armejo lives with his parents in Riverton, Wyoming. He's basically been out of work for a year.
I should have saved a lot more. I should not be in debt. I should be debt-free and have like thousands in the bank, but I don't, you know.
Then one day last winter, Armejo gets this letter about a class action lawsuit saying Precision Drilling didn't pay him enough overtime when he worked for them.
Yeah, I was way surprised. I was like, what the heck? What's going on? I had no idea. I honestly had no idea.
As oil prices started dropping a year and a half ago, lawsuits like this exploded. Armejo worked here in Colorado, where last year there were 9 times as many wage suits against oil and gas companies as there were in 2010. In Texas, the biggest oil state, nearly 10 times as many lawsuits. Federal records show oil and gas companies are among the top violators of wage laws, particularly by not paying overtime.
You know, when you look at the work that the workers are doing, you're talking about 24-hour shifts.
Tess Castilleja works with the U.S. Department of Labor's Wage and Hour Division. She says oil workers' long hours put their employers at risk for a lot of wage violations if they're not paying close attention. Castilleja's office was seeing enough problems with this a couple of years ago, they decided to specifically investigate the oil and gas industry in some parts of the country. Since then, the office has recovered more than $40 million in unpaid wages.
We have found cases where workers were not even paid the minimum wage because they're working so many hours. It's even happened there. So the idea that they're being highly compensated, in some cases, they're not.
The biggest case her team has settled by far was against oilfield services company Halliburton this past summer. In just this one case, they found Halliburton owed about 1,000 workers a total of $18 million. The company released a statement saying they, quote, worked earnestly and cooperatively with the Department of Labor to equitably resolve the situation.
Brian Gonzalez.
Brian Gonzalez is a Colorado lawyer who represents workers in these wage cases.
It's the way the industry operates. They see what their competitors are doing, they just do the same thing, and no one stops to say, well, hey, this isn't really compliant with the law.
Compliant usually in the way they are classifying workers as being eligible for overtime or not. He believes this misclassification is often a conscious business decision. The Department of Labor has about 1,000 investigators nationwide to cover wage laws in every industry. That could mean a violator has a minimal risk of getting caught by the government. When workers decide to take matters into their own hands and sue, Gonzalez thinks for a lot of companies,
even if they get sued, which is a big if, they'll pay a fraction of what they saved.
Hi, is this Oil States Energy Services?
None of the companies we reached out to would agree to an interview for this story. Not Halliburton, not Precision Drilling, where Cody Armejo worked, not trade groups like the American Petroleum Institute or the National Association of Manufacturers. In fact...
Hi, Chad. This is Dan Boyce. I'm a public radio and television reporter.
We tried to reach every...
I'm on hold.
...single...
Okay, thank you.
...company with a concluded case in Colorado from sometime in the past 5 years. No interviews. We did receive a statement from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce saying employers often do not intend to break the law. Quote, even the best-intentioned employers can make good faith judgments as to what steps meet the legal standards and have the Department of Labor disagree with them. The fact that DOL adopts one interpretation doesn't make it necessarily correct or the final word. And while Gonzalez does think many of these companies are holding back on wages intentionally, he does not think the spike in lawsuits necessarily means more wage theft is going on. Rather, he thinks more laid-off workers now feel they have nothing to lose.
Very few employed workers have the fortitude to bring a claim against their current employer because obviously they fear things such as retaliation or, losing shifts or being fired.
Cody Armejo is heading out to go shoot guns with some friends.
I do a lot of hunting and fishing.
He's got a lot of time on his hands.
I got no offer because of the money. The most I made was $120. I don't have a degree or anything, And
He ended up getting paid $6,000 in back wages from the class action lawsuit. That money's gone now too. He says he would go right back to work in the oil field if he could, even knowing there's a chance he'd get paid less than what he's owed. For Inside Energy, I'm Dan Boyce.